guys, it's Erin or Gimme Yarn 418 and I'm back with another video. This one is a little different than what I usually put out, but I mentioned in my TGIF video and also on Instagram that I would do a flip through of this album. This album is from our big trip cross country, visiting some of the national parks. I would like to say first, I see there's shadows, and I've tried my best to eliminate those, but if I do more of these in the future, I will work on that. And second, I am not a paper crafting expert. This is not perfect, but it's perfect for me. So the thinking behind this album, not journal, was that we got a lot of postcards when we were traveling, and I did so intentionally because I wanted, the pictures that you can't quite get with your camera phone, and the perfect pictures, the perfect lighting and everything. And I thought those would be the perfect addition to a scrapbook or an album. So this is specifically for postcards, and then I sprinkled in some photos. What I used to make this was the album is made with a special K box. I used papers from this paper pad, which I had in my stash. It comes from Joann's, and I used it because it had map papers. I also used this paper pad from Michael's, which I do believe they still sell. Let's see if there's any information on it. No, it just says paper pad. And this is just some neutrals and things like that. I used art glitter glue. I used score tape. This is generic score tape. This one in particular came from Joann's, but I've also since gotten it from scrapbooking.com, I believe. I used my paper trimmer, I used my scissors, and I also used my new favorite little gizmo, my Ivy printer. I just love this thing. You put these special papers in here, and it is a thermal printer. It prints right onto the paper. And in case you didn't see my last video, here's a picture of Kristen. Oh, it's dark. It's not actually that dark, but this is also sticky paper. So let me see if I can show you. So yeah, you peel off the back, and this is sticky. And the photo quality is really great for such a tiny little printer. And you can see right there, that is Crazy Horse in South Dakota? South Dakota. Yep. So highly recommend this, and love it. These are the papers that come with it. There are a bunch of different brands of this style of printer. I chose this one because it got the best reviews, and I love it. Don't regret it. Really happy to have it. All right. The other thing I used on this album was I used contact paper, and I'll tell you why, and a little bit of vinyl for some decals. All right, to start, this was, like I said, a special K-box, the family size, and then I cut it down to the size that worked for me. I used something called a stacked hinge. It is completely imperfect, as you can see. Oh, I did not mention that the plain cardstock I used is just Recollections plain cardstock, so that's the other thing I used. So stacked hinge, not great, not perfect, but I love it. Now, when I made my spine, I used the wrong glue and my paper cracked, and that is why I decided to go over the entire cover with contact paper, and it was a great decision. It gives the spine some extra stability, and I like it. I like how it looks, and I think it'll hold up to wear a little bit better with that on it. This is a vinyl decal from the Silhouette store, and I thought it was great. There was an arrow on here, but didn't fit. It was covering up too much of the map. And I used the same map of the United States paper on the front and the back. Inside, this is Lola, our first RV, who is no longer with us, but she served us well for a while we had her. Nothing, she was still mechanically sound, but we'll talk about that as we go on. Here are just a few photos from the beginning of our trip. The dogs in the car riding with me. This is Tom. This wall here actually fell down while we were traveling. And Tom is gorilla taping the wall back up until we can have it repaired. Spoiler alert, it did not work. And the mechanism that was used to bring the slide out in and out, well, this wall fell down again while we were going down the road and broke that mechanism off, and we couldn't bring the slide in and out. Thankfully, when we had the wall repaired, they were able to fix that. But here's Kristen working. This is Tom outside, and where are we? Wisconsin, I believe, outside in Wisconsin. And I got to meet Amy Ming Mao for dinner at Starved Rock State Park. I had to look on the picture. That's the great thing also about this printer, is you can print right on the pictures. And this is just a KOA because we stayed predominantly in KOAs. Our first destination was Rapid City, South Dakota, and when we were there we saw Mount Rushmore. There's Tom at Mount Rushmore. There's Kristen with George and Crazy Horse, which was really quite incredible. This is Needles something. I can't remember what it was called. This is Custer State Park. Kristen and Tom really loved it there. And here's Custer State Park again. They got stuck in a buffalo herd, which they actually really loved. Oh, it's called the Needle's Eye, Custer State Park. Yeah, I don't know if you can see all those buffalo. They were very happy to have that happen because we really like the wildlife. And this sticker here I found in the KOA store that we were staying at, and it was on clearance. Next, also in South Dakota, Tom and I went over to the Badlands, which was one of my favorite places. This rock coloration was just amazing. And I mean, look at these pictures. You can see for such a small little printer. There's me climbing up high and looking out over. That was a very big ledge. So this is again cut on my Silhouette out of vinyl from the Silhouette store. Yep, beware of the rattlesnakes. That was a pretty terrifying thing to say. And some postcards of the Badlands because you just can't capture all the beauty that is there. It's incredible. This is actually, this picture here is the first stop we made in the Badlands. It was amazing, and someone volunteered to take our picture. So, oh, climbing up on another rock. Tom tried to give me a heart attack the entire time. Climbing up on rocks. There's more Badlands. And then this was truly the highlight. We saw this buffalo. He was really close to the car. They have a prairie like village, and then we saw bighorn sheep. It was awesome. It was the only time on the trip we saw sheep, and it was the only time in the Badlands we saw sheep, and Tom spotted them. I didn't see them. I didn't notice them. It was so cool. We watched them for a while. Next, we went to Devil's Tower, which was pretty cool. There's Kristen and Tom at the tower. This picture here is actually our campsite. That's how close we were. And there's the tower. This is from the car while we were driving up. I just zoomed in and cropped it when I put it in the album. We were only there for one night. I'd really like to go back there. It was a lot of fun. This is Yellowstone. Yellowstone was way more amazing than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was going to be amazing. I thought we'd see wildlife, and I knew about Old Faithful. And I'm sorry that the dogs are barking. I hope you can't hear that too badly. But I wasn't prepared for how impressive the geysers would be and the springs. So we spent 3 full days there, I believe. And it was awesome. There's Kristen in her new favorite hat. Okay, so this here is the Grand Prismatic Spring. Probably everybody's favorite part of Yellowstone. This is the Grand Prismatic Spring from above, and this is the Grand Prismatic Spring at like ground level. It was pretty incredible to see. Now, we didn't know anything about this until we decided to take this little trail that everybody was taking because we were just naive. And it was a really steep incline, but we all made it, and we went up and we saw it from above, and it was breathtaking. In fact, I did the hike 2 days in a row. I went one day with Tom and then the next day with Kristen. I mean, look at that. It's incredible. These are one of the geyser basins. They were shooting up. This was more impressive than Old Faithful because they just did not stop. It was incredible. 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 There's Old Faithful. This here is actually Old Faithful. And we did watch it erupt, and it was impressive, but these just didn't stop. It was incredible. Old Faithful is supposed to be impressive, mostly because you can really time out exactly how long. It was something like an hour and 4 minutes when we were there. So, between eruptions. Next, we went to Glacier, which, I'm not going to lie, Glacier was my absolute favorite place. There's this road that you drive up that is full of cliffs and turns, and it's terrifying, but I did it. And this is cut on my silhouette. Here's a picture of Tom, and you can see some of those cliffs. We actually took the dogs into Glacier, and some random person on the side of the road, we said, will you take our picture? And they were in love with our dogs, and of course they didn't cooperate, but it's a fitting picture for our family. And here's some more. There's Dewey and I. I'm gonna guess this is, let's see, that's Molly. Nope, that's Max. That's Max. And I was in front of the lake. I can't remember what the lake was called. And Tom, it was awesome. It was awesome. And see the mountain goats? This is what Tom spent most of the time doing at Glacier, was using the binoculars, because we were trying to see the glaciers, and they were pretty impressive, considering it was in the middle of August. It's really odd to see snow, but see the mountain goats. See the mountain goats? That's how close I was to them. They were about 20 feet in front of me on a little walkway, and I was able to get the picture of the mom and the baby. And Tom and I stopped at the visitor center, and where was it? I can't remember what it was called, but it's the major visitor center. Anyway, we stopped, and this little guy was putting on a show for us, so I had to get a picture of him. This little prairie dog. And I just picked up this little token from the gift shop for the album. It has a mountain goat on it. That was actually before I even saw a mountain goat, so. Here are just some pictures of the dogs, and as you can see here, we ended up trading in our RV. This is our new RV. This is a sunset in Nebraska. The dog's traveling. These are some of my favorite pictures. Just some in all different places across the U.S. as we were traveling. You can see here's still the old RV. This is my favorite page. Look at those sweet faces. They did so well while we were on the road. So next we stopped at the Hoosier Gym in Knightstown. It was a bucket list thing for Kristen and Tom from the movie Hoosiers. I had never seen it. I have since seen it. So they loved that. That was pretty interesting to navigate our 40 and a half foot RV down those narrow roads, but we did it. Next we stopped at Gettysburg, which was lovely. Kristen and I went on a ghost tour of the Jenny Wade house. It was more for entertainment, but it was fun. Nice little date night we had. That's Jenny Wade and I. Next, we stopped in Amish country, which was probably everybody's favorite stop because we were there for a full week. Not a full week. We were there for 5 days, and it was just really relaxed. We were almost home. We all just enjoyed ourselves. Tom and I took a buggy ride. Kristen was working for most of the time, but the food made it worthwhile for everybody, and we intend to go back this year. And that was the last big stop of the trip. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about some things that happened. Let's see. Okay. This is when we decided to trade in the RV. We were driving down the road in, I want to say, Idaho. And I was behind them. And this awning came out and sailed. Made like a sail coming off the side of the road. It was dusk and we couldn't get it back in. It was broken. So that is Kristen up on the top, gorilla taping the awning to the RV, and this is Tom with a pole that we just happened to have. I think it was the awning pole, trying to push the awning back so it would stay. That was the final straw. That was the final straw. We had some other little mishaps with it, but we needed one more space, and the awning, there was no way we could get that fixed on the road. So we decided at that moment, when we got to Salt Lake City, which was our next major stop, that we would trade her in. And unfortunately, when we were in Salt Lake City, we didn't do any sightseeing because we bought the RV, which took up the 3 days we were there. And I was also extremely ill. I ended up coming down with strep throat, and it was awful. I couldn't move my head. It was a very rare form of strep throat, and I didn't find out till we got to Moab when I gave in and said I need to go to the ER, and they said I was going to need surgery because they thought it was something else, but thank God it was just strep throat, and some antibiotics took care of it, and I was on the mend. We did also not do any sightseeing in Moab because it was 112 degrees during the day, and it was not safe to leave anybody alone in the RV, and I was, as I mentioned, extremely ill. So that's on our list for next year. Another mishap we had was we were driving in some traffic, and there were Jersey barriers on each side of us on a 2-lane major highway, and a semi-truck came and ripped the mirror off of the driver's side of the RV. That was fun, but we were able to get it repaired and back on the road, but it made for some stressful driving from the time it was ripped off until we were able to get it fixed, which was the following day, because that is really what Kristen and Tom rely on to see anything around them. I do not drive the RV. And this is Donato's Pizza. I had never had Donato's Pizza before, and Kristen, there's no way we could not get Donato's Pizza. In fact, we pulled in to Buckeye Lake, Ohio at 11 o'clock at night, and I still went out. They were open till midnight and got Donato's Pizza, and they even gave me a t-shirt for Kristen because I told them how much she loved it. So couple more pictures. Oh, there's the picture of Devil's Tower. This is probably my favorite picture from the trip. I am behind Lola and taking that picture. I'd really like to get that blown up on a canvas, maybe for Kristen or Tom's birthday. We'll see. And last but not least, this is the new RV who has yet to be named in Amish country just before we head home. It was a fantastic trip, and this is our album for this year. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, and I will make some more in the future when I make more, if anybody is interested. Alright guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.